All right, Nick, here we go. Got a chance to get to Dolo Day with a chance for what would be a sweep, but you got to first get these 3 outs. So certainly looking good, though.
Yes, absolutely. Pretty fun day so far.
Yeah,
what a game.
I'd say it's as a baseball fan, been a pretty cool day if you're a Reds fan. Simply put. Also, well aware what just happened about what seems like 30 minutes ago, and it's not that I am gonna try to ignore that. It's certainly a ridiculous thing that just happened, and it's sad, but this is a baseball show, and I'm gonna keep it a baseball show, chat.
I was not even aware of what just happened. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, you might as well just wait until it's over, till the show's over, so you can.
I've been dug in here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Brent Suter.
Baseball. Yeah. Baseball. Try to distract you from serious things. The toy aisle of life is what we'll continue to play in.
Yeah.
Suter, though, it'd be nice to get these first 2, you know? Just
wish Suter could work a little faster.
Yeah. Takes forever, doesn't he? You got to be kidding me. Lee, man. That shouldn't burn me up, but that the worst swing I've ever seen, dude. That legitimately is like he couldn't have meant to do that.
No.
I mean, he did track it. Or did on the slow-mo replay, it actually looked a lot better than real time. What about Sam Moll coming in and just dominating Chisholm, by the way? That was just utter disaster. Big call. That was a big call by David Bell. Don't want to ruin the show. When can we say RECE HINDS is for real? I don't know. Let's just keep living in this world that is fantasy. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it, you know? It's kind of like you're in the middle of a nice, awesome vacation. Don't let the thought that it might be over in a couple days stop you from enjoying vacation. You know, let's just enjoy vacation. Maybe we'll hit the lottery on the last day of vacation, and it will be forever. Who knows?
Well said. That's one of the, I think one of the maybe top 5.
Oh no, Brent, we're getting outs, brother. Golly, this baseball team has idiots. I mean, idiots. You got a 4-run lead. Just take the out! Golly! This team is full of dumbasses, man. Like, know the score. Oh, I just can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I'm not doing 162 more of these, and I know we don't have that many left. 81 of these, if this is what we deal with on a daily basis, and I get it. We're up 4 runs, and by God, I hope we survive. But this is the type of stuff. Major League Baseball players, they're humans, I get it. But, dude.
You only got 66 left.
You can't. I mean, this team has so many players that just...
All right.
Oh, I thought that was a home run.
I kind of low key, if you guarantee me the win, would have loved for that to go out so we get a 1-run win.
Don't even do this, Nick. Now you're flirting with people actually like coming to find us. Mad.
Coming to find us. Oh. All he had to do was like walk after the runner too.
He just exactly. Not only did he make the wrong decision of not getting out, he then just he just froze and just threw a lollipop to third base.
I almost wonder if someone like yelled at him, just throw to first, and it like threw him off after he, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's almost what it felt like.
Yeah, he like maybe his own brain realized that after the fact.
Oh yeah, I don't need that guy's pointless. What am I doing? And then he just compounded it.
Oh. Well, all is well that ends well, they say, right? All is well that ends well. I haven't seen it myself, but I'll see it now. There it is.
It happened.
It's a strikeout. The Reds win. The Reds win, baby. We got a chance. We'll see you in a moment. We got a show to do.
Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again.
Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right to the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? Did he? He did. He did. Reds win. Win. Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the
Nick, that's a big win. I know that it's the Marlins. I get it, all that. Somebody on the opposite fan base might say these things to us this week, but I just want to say that this is what it takes to get back in the race. You got to find a way to take 3 or 4 from the Rockies, and dare I say tomorrow, head into the All-Star break with a sweep, and I'm all the way back. I'm all the way back, and that includes the fact that, you know what? Maybe some of these guys that are behind other guys, regardless of what happens at the deadline, it doesn't mean they're dead. And that's what I was saying the other day. It doesn't mean they're dead no matter what happens. Got some big performances. Espinal had a hell of a day. I don't know if he's on the rundown. I guess, yeah, I see him on there. Nice Santiago. It's just what a world-class day by the Cincinnati Reds. Like, I don't know. And again, I haven't looked at the box score. You'll have the box score recap here coming just in a moment. But it just felt like there wasn't anybody on this baseball team that didn't do something right.
Well, yeah, you've been asking all year, can we have the offense pick up the pitching staff? And today was the ultimate pick up the pitching staff day. Andrew Abbott didn't have it. Fernando Cruz really didn't have it.
Nope.
And this is a game that the Reds had to fight back multiple times after, they had already fought back. And yeah, this was just that game you've been asking for all year, Trace.
And I am very thankful for it, because today it did feel like, and Sadak mentioned it 3 or 4 or 5 times probably, that it felt like it was going to be a 14-11 game. And I just wanted to be on the right side of one of these, and it didn't turn out to be that high scoring, but 16 runs in a baseball game certainly is up there. And now you find yourself in a position, like I said before, like you have a legitimate shot now to put yourself in a spot where you don't have to play perfect all second half. Because I know we can play this game at times, Nick, where it's like 2.5 out, 3 out. We play that game. There's a lot of teams in front of us. Like, there's a lot of teams, or I wouldn't say in front of us, but there's a lot of teams that are fighting for those 3 spots, as we know. And getting around 500 is a big, big deal. That, in my opinion, and my brain, I don't know why my brain thinks this way, I almost, before I start to get super excited about like the postseason and all those things, it's almost like the team has to get to 500 first. Like, if they're below 500, it's like I'm focused on getting back to 500, and we're getting there. I'm not saying we're, I don't want to jinx anything, but we're on our way, as they say. We're on our way.
I mean, a pretty big, last couple weeks for the Reds. Obviously, you go to St. Louis, you split a 4-game series. That was, no small task. Sweep the Yankees in New York. You had the series against the Tigers where you get swept. I guess the Yankees and Tigers, you wash your hands. I guess that made up for each other both ways. Right. And then you won a series against the Rockies. You won a series against the Marlins. So, I mean, overall, you finished the first half about as well as you really could have realistically hoped for.
I agree. And I also think, I was thinking about this the other night, like when there's times where I'm like, why do I not feel as good about this team at times as maybe I would have other years? I think the injuries are certainly part of that. And I think the other thing that's weird, some psychological thing that happens, is like the amount of times this team has won the first game of a series and then ultimately lost the series. If for whatever reason, Nick, I guess what I'm trying to say is if they were to lose on Friday and then split Saturday, Sunday, and hell, even if they won on Sunday, it wouldn't feel as bad. But that's not been the case. So it doesn't really matter how you feel. At the end of the day, all that matters is what you have in the win column, and the Reds are stacking them up. And let's do some supers here before we get into the box score recap, and we'll get into the show. Chase Wellman says, don't let the Reds get hot. I'm starting to believe as well. And I as I said before, I'm trying to be hesitant, but why do that as a fan? Sometimes there's no point. Cody Brown says, nice, fun win. Heading to the draft here in Fort Worth tomorrow as well. He's going to the draft. That's big league. Can I get a crossover West Virginia /Reds collab and have the Reds draft J.J. Weatherholt? Please, let's go Reds. We'll see. I don't personally want to do that, but we'll see. The Reds have an interesting decision to make tomorrow. They could trade back too, and I know people would get pissed off about that, but they could. I mean, they could not trade back, but they could. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about MLB draft. Maybe they could find a way to manipulate some kind of back-end deal to move down.
And let me real quick, because you might see it tomorrow if you watch the whole draft. You can trade the compensation round pick. So when you see the Brewers have a pick that they traded for, maybe it's the Orioles, one of the teams have it. It's not that you can't trade the top picks. is you can only trade the compensation round picks.
I feel like that's another thing I'd have to like sit down with maybe some front office folks or some executives at MLB and just be like, why do we do that? Why can't you do just what the NFL does? Like, if you want to trade players for draft picks, seems like you should be able to do that. But maybe there's a reason. I'm sure it has something to do with the MLB Players Association and somehow manipulating contracts or something along those lines. Michael Davis with a 20 bomb said, Nick, it's only the Rockies and Marlins. I think that's a good dig. That's a good one. I like that. I think he's on your side personally. I think that's a ploy to say, hey, Nick, wink, wink.
Well, wink, wink. Does the schedule matter? I mean, does that matter now or not?
I think it kind of matters when guys like with all due respect. I mean, I'm not going to say somebody's all the way back when they're performing against the Rockies and Marlins, but Fernando Cruz struggled today, so he's been great all year. So maybe, the Marlins got theirs. Andrew Abbott been good all year. Not today, though, against the Marlins. Not downplaying. The wins are a win. You are right, by the way. I mean, everybody plays everybody, so what's the point? Mark Fetter's coming in hot, said RECE HINDS for president 2024. I am staying off that topic today. Nick? Got anything to add before we do the box score recap?
Not on that one. Yeah, I'll add it later.
Okay. All right, Nick, with the box score recap, and it's a fun one today. I'm going to see what the deep drive of the day. The deep drive of the day is going to be interesting. I mean, we got you know what this feels like? I know you're supposed to do the box score real fast. This feels like whenever you're in sales and you go out and you just have an unbelievable month. And you're just killing it. You basically outperformed like the quota for 3 months in 1 month. And then the new month hits. Tomorrow is going to be like that new month. And it's going to be like, well, we need another deep drive of the day, guys. Even though we got like 12 of them today. We'll see. We'll see which one you pick.
I put it in there 3 different times today. If that
enough.
gives you any hint as to how it ended up shaking out.
Yeah, I kind of have an idea now. Take it away, Nick.
All right, Reds taking on the Miami Marlins, game 2 of 3 at Great American Ballpark. Both teams went 1-2-3 in the first, but that was certainly not a sign of things to come. Spencer Steer crushed a home run 102 off the bat to left field to lead off the bottom of the second, 1-0 Reds. But the Marlins responded quickly off Andrew Abbott. Elly De La Cruz made an incredible catch up against the netting to start off the top of the third, but then Jake Berger and Bell hit back-to-back home runs, and the Reds found themselves down 3-1. But that lead did not last long. RECE HINDS obliterated another baseball to lead off the bottom of the third. It just missed getting up into the bleachers. 3-2 Fish. 2 batters later, Elly De La Cruz hit his team-leading 16th home run into the camera well in the batter's eye in center field. Tied the game up at 3. The next batter, Jeimer Candelario, did not let Elly's time atop the Reds' home run leaderboard last long. He hit a home run to right field, his 16th of the season. 4-3 Reds. But the Fish responded in the top of the fourth. The first 2 batters singled. Andrew Abbott did get Jazz Chisholm to fly out, but then his day was done early. Buck Farmer came in. He got a ground ball that the Reds thought they turned a fantastic double play on to end the inning, but the call was overturned. That runner got on base. That runner, Brian De La Cruz, then stole second base with Buck Farmer not paying attention. That turned out to be a pretty big deal because Jake Berger hit a weak single, and the Fish took a 5-4 lead. Farmer then walked the next batter, but Santiago Espinal made a great leaping catch to save another run and end the inning. Espinal, in fact, came into the game the inning prior after Jonathan India had to leave the game with a left knee contusion. But the Reds' offense responded again in the bottom of the fourth. Tyler Stevenson and Noelvi Marte singled. RECE HINDS was hit by a pitch on his hand. A fielder's choice from Will Benson would tie the game at 5. Then the Reds got some help from the Marlins defense. An ugly pass ball from Marlins catcher Nick Fortes put the Reds up 6-5. Then a single from Santiago Espinal on a ball deflected off the second baseman Jonah Bridges' glove made it 7-5. Tony Santillan then got 2 outs, and Sam Moll finished off a scoreless fifth to kind of get the game back on track. Despite some shaky defense from the Reds, it was Santillan's first appearance in the big leagues in nearly a year. Fernando Cruz gave up a run in the top of the 6th. The Reds lead was cut to 7-6. Cruz has now given up 7 runs over his last 6 1/3 innings pitched. But the Reds responded yet again. Jake Fraley singled, and then RECE HINDS did it again. Another home run into the bleachers. 9-6 Reds. Then 2 batters later, Santiago Espinal decided to join in the fun. He hit his 6th home run of the year. 10-6 Reds. And then Justin Wilson, Lucas Sims, and Brent Suter through combined 3 scoreless innings. Reds finish off a 10-6 win. Reds run differential now plus 39 on the season. Reds 47-49, the closest the Reds have been to 500 since they were 1 game below 500 on June 9th following their 7-game win streak.
All right, and the deep drive of the day goes to the guy it's continued to go to as of late, RECE HINDS. This guy has been unworldly. His 5th home run of the year. This dude has been up here for like not even 5 days. Anyway, it's 112 off the bat because this guy don't hit cheapies. 454 feet. That would give the Reds win probability a 16% boost, and as we all know, it would eventually be 100%. And the Deep Drive of the Day is sponsored by DSC, and they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information, and thank you to John and RECE for helping us out. It really is. Like, you got Rally Reds on here. RECE HINDS is on there. I think we just combine them both. It's relatively speechless to be able to have a conversation about what RECE HINDS is actually doing right now. You know, we talked about this on the other show, and I'm not here to just go back in and regurgitate the things, but people are going to bring up this Aquino thing. He's so far and beyond past what Aquino was doing in regards to the short time frame that he legitimately is making history. Like, I don't know if people really grasp that. When someone gets hot again, they're going to say, this person only trails RECE HINDS in X over their first X games. That's where we're at right now, Nick, with this guy.
Yeah, Sarah Langs tweeted out, I mean, there's a million of these different types of stats, but this one probably is the most just insane. RECE HINDS' 9 extra base hits are 2 more than any other player in his first 6 career games. 2 more. Like, no one had more than 7. Like,
right.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, I tweeted it out. You know, Will Benson has an 82 WRC plus. RECE HINDS had a 76 WRC plus in AAA. I mean, this is legitimately like if you took Will Benson and you said, well, we're going to put you up to the league that's above Major League Baseball. Right. And you're going to go up there and you're going to be the best hitter on the planet for a week. That's like legitimately what's happened here. And my brain can't compute it. I'm just having fun watching it. I think you said it earlier before we went live, like, just enjoy it. Enjoy this ride because it's unbelievable. It's unexpected. This is what makes baseball cool because there's no stat. There's no logic as to why this is happening. It's just happening, and it's awesome, and it's fun, and we're going to enjoy it.
I think it's a stark reminder, or a good reminder, that there's a lot of talented players that play baseball. Like, if you truly got to the nuts and bolts, the psychologic breakdown of all the players, and not to go on a really long tangent about this, but I've always felt that a lot of major leaguers and professional athletes' success centers around a little bit of a fortuitous bounce or some fortune or what some may call luck. Now, certainly I believe the harder you work in life, the more luckier you get. You create your own luck, but there are breaks that happen your way. You can go through a litany of guys, Tom Brady's, whether he gets drafted by the Patriots or if he gets drafted by the Vikings, is his life completely different? Yeah, it probably is. Do you know Tom Brady the way you do now versus the way he would have been? Probably not. And Joe Burrow, a guy that is loved in the city, is another perfect example of just the weird way that life works. You bounce around, you go to Ohio State, you don't get to play, but somehow that leads you to LSU, and it all works out perfectly. And next thing you know, Joe Burrow's leading NFL, and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. RECE HINDS is probably like the same makeup of a ton of other guys that for whatever reason, psychologically, they're either trying too hard at AAA, and I think that that's made reference by Jim Day a couple times, or it's just the fact that I know this sounds stupid, and I was thinking this the other day, like, Nick, is there anything to the idea that some guys are just wired differently, that when they get to the highest of high stages, that they're just, not that they're not trying at AAA, but I would argue that Matt McClain has a little similar makeup in that role. Like, now we've not seen him play long enough in the big leagues to 100% say it, but this has happened before. Brandon Williamson, I know we made a joke about it, but like, this stuff can happen. And I know everybody wants to make fun of the idea, like, oh yeah, we don't need to trade anybody. We don't need to get anybody the deadline. Let's just bring up all the minor leaguers. They'll work out. And I'm not here to say that this is going to happen every time, but you legitimately aren't going to find anybody at the deadline that is going to give you even remotely the production that RECE HINDS just gave you for what is a week. And I'm not saying that it's going to last forever, but I said before, and I'll say it one last time, this is how a team like the Reds, based off of their makeup this year, can make the postseason. 100%. You kind of feel like watching NCAA March Madness and you're the 13 seed. You're probably not supposed to make it that far in the tournament. But if you just get hot and you find a couple group of players that start to believe in themselves, sports are fun. That's why sports are the best, is because you can't predict this stuff ever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, it's wild. I mean, look, RECE HINDS is not some no-name guy. Like, this isn't, calling up someone from AAA that's a career minor leaguer that just got hot. This guy has real potential.
Yeah.
I think anyone that thought logically did not think it was going to be right now or in the near immediate future. I mean, the Reds, for all due respect, caught up Levi Jordan ahead of RECE HINDS a couple weeks ago because to fill a spot. That's kind of, where his career was. So he's a talented player that has a talented future. I don't want to get too big of I don't want to put any, I think it'd be completely unfair to put any expectations on him that he's going to be anything at all in the second half. Just enjoy what he's doing right now. Be excited about the idea of RECE HINDS in the future. And then just, whatever happens this year happens. That's kind of, I think, maybe the best way, in my opinion, just to kind of go forward with what RECE HINDS has done.
I mean, like I said before, I think you just take it in stride. We all know collectively, even RECE would tell you, collectively we know that this won't last forever. But I don't know if it's going to get to the depths of what we were hoping to get in the first place, right? Like, we're getting unworldly type of performances, but we don't need that to be competitive moving forward. And I'm hopeful that RECE HINDS' baseline is going to be better than what we've been dealing with, because it's unfortunately been a pretty low bar that has been set. And I'm excited, if nothing else, that RECE HINDS provides some hope, right? A little hope. That's what everybody needs from time to time. I see you smirking. I'm not going there. Ellie Steer and Santiago Espinal. Ellie hits a ball, as you said, into the camera well. Best player on the Reds. He's so good. He's so good. And in fact, like, he made some defensive plays that were, I mean, I can't understate how good he is. I think that hopefully our fan base realizes that, most of them.
I would hope so by now. Yeah, that catch that he made, I mean, he just, it's just every day he does something, that's cool or different that you just don't see other players make, or you don't see that lot of other players make. And I'm really excited to see him at the All-Star game. He's probably, I don't know, I'm trying to think, he might be my most excited Reds player in my lifetime to see like what he does at the All-Star game. Like, I was pretty excited, like Joey Votto's first time in the All-Star game, because it had been overdue when he got there.
Right.
But Joey Votto, isn't gonna like do something that's going to necessarily wow everyone in the All-Star game, right? I mean,
yeah.
Whereas Elly De La Cruz could do something that is the talk of sports for a couple of days because there's nothing else going on.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm sure like Eric Davis probably when he got to the All-Star game, the people that followed the Reds back then, that's probably about how they felt. Everyone getting to see Eric Davis, but I feel like Ellie's going to just give like the whole city of Cincinnati at the All-Star game like just a sense of pride. When he gets into this game.
I'm not old enough to really give this a good answer, but I would love for people to either shoot me a DM if you're listening in the podcast forum, certainly in the chat, you can fire away. Who was the last Reds player that is going to be as nationally known and or famous as Elly De La Cruz? Because it's not even close in my lifetime. Like, it's him. It's already him. And I know that's not fair. I'm not saying he's a better player than all these guys. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. But from just a superstardom standpoint of a like you recognize him type situation, I really don't know. I can't come up with one. I know people are going to say Joey Votto, but I don't think Joey Votto was loved and we loved him in Cincinnati. But also, when Joey Votto played, Nick, and I guess I'll give some Major League Baseball some kudos here, it wasn't the most marketable sport either when Joey Votto was in his heyday. Like, it wasn't, we still have blackouts, but, this isn't on social media all over the place. You also don't have every team playing everybody like they have now. I don't know, Nick. Do you have anything that popped at the top of your mind?
Well, Cody Brown points out King Griffey Jr. That's like a fair point, but it's different because he was traded here.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of cheating. He didn't make his name in Cincinnati.
Yeah. That's a great point though by Cody Brown.
It is a good point.
That's the obvious answer.
Yes.
I would say of a player that came up, it's not since Pete Rose, and I would say in today's game, Elly would be ahead of even a player like Pete Rose. I think Pete Rose was more because of how much more popular baseball was when he played versus now. So, yeah, I mean, I would say Elly since Pete Rose, but Elly might honestly be the top overall if you somehow were able to figure out, how much baseball's consumed now versus then. Baseball was either the number one sport or the number 1B sport, in the 70s.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we've never seen anything close to this.
We were going through here. Chad Wilson said Griffey Jr., TET offense. I don't know if that means Tet. I have no idea. Sabo, Eric Davis, and then all of a sudden, Mark Fetters just hits me with a Will Myers.
That hurts, Mark. That hurts.
Yeah. Speaking of which, every time RECE HINDS hits a ball like 900 feet, there's a little birdie that chirps in my ear and says, "Hey, remember Nick told you that he's not going to have a higher OPS than Will Benson by the end of the season." I'm like, shit. Honestly, he could just probably sit out for the rest of the year. We'll be good to go, clearly. So, I don't know.
You might be able to have an 0 for 50 and still be okay.
I don't know. You had a fair point. You were trying to play the percentages, and it just didn't work out. That's
okay. It never does for me. It never does for me. It does for everyone else, but not for me.
All right. It was Steer. Obviously gets the party started. Steer. Don't want to spend too much time on all these guys, but Steer is the lowest baseline guy that we have. Like or the highest baseline guy. I don't want to get that confusing. He's the highest baseline guy we have. If you told me of any of the guys that I was willing to bet on to produce at a consistent level of what's on the back of their baseball card, there's a cliche for all the people that hate us that do this thing. But he's the guy that's closest, and I will bet on it every year. Spencer Steer will be even Steven, exactly what you think he's going to be.
Yeah, Steer's really starting to show some power. That was something that was lacking for quite a while. He's now got 11 home runs in his last 46 games. So I mean, he's that's quite a big leap. Reds overall, I mean, I think depending on what other teams do today, the Reds might end up the end of the day in the top 10 in Major League Baseball in home runs.
Kind of wild.
I mean, it felt like we had a stretch there for like 3 weeks where the Reds had to hit 4 or 5 home runs over like 3 weeks or something like that.
I think legitimately over an 8-game span, I remember us doing a show where we were like, they've hit 1 home run.
Yeah.
But they have the guys that can do it, clearly. It was just for some reason. It's a long baseball season, man. It is. And it's hard to do. You know, the hardest thing about this show, and I know that people probably, this isn't a complaint by any stretch of the imagination. It's really hard to have good holistic perspective when you do a show every night. Because if you got to just kind of sit back and watch baseball for like 2 to 3 weeks and not say a word, you could kind of formulate a pretty good opinion from time to time. But when you gotta get on here every night and say something that you think is relatively insightful, it becomes relatively difficult. The Reds, it happens to every team, Nick. They played bad baseball for what was 3 weeks. And they're going to hopefully play great baseball for 3 weeks. And hopefully the great baseball hasn't happened yet. That's what I'm hoping for. But they're playing well. I'm not trying to say they're not playing great, but you get my point.
And I mean, some of it earlier in the year was the pitching too. I mean, the pitching they were facing. Right. It's a combination of the Reds weren't playing well. They're facing really good pitching. Now they're playing well. They're facing some bad pitching, and it looks completely different.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. Espinal, I obviously brought him up. He played unbelievable today. Played unbelievable, and he kind of got thrown in there in the middle of the game. Hopefully India's okay, obviously. He made a play that I don't think that anyone else that plays on our team makes, that plays that position. With that over-the-shoulder catch, that saved at least 1 run, and then he battled. And you know what's funny, weird thing about baseball, man? He hits almost the identical type of ball that he caught to end the inning, and they dropped that ball to extend the inning. And then obviously he hits the home run later in the game. But Espinal, one of his better performances, and again, not a guy that I plan on relying a whole lot on, but it is nice to see him have some success, and hopefully moving forward he can play a little bit closer to his level of what he's capable of playing at, because I do think what you were saying, Nick, earlier this year is true. He's not this bad, right? Like there was a time this season where he was playing horrifically, and the truth is that, yes, is he going to be a great player? No, but he's not this bad. And maybe this is him, a little glimpse, a little slight slimmer of hope that Espinal is going to start playing a little bit closer to what we thought we might get.
What a weird season for Espinal. So he's going to probably set a career high in home runs. He's already got 6, his career high 7. Last year he hit 2 all last year, but he also is going to have his worst batting average and his worst on-base percentage by even if he gets red hot, he's going to have his worst average. He's at 211 right now. His worst is 248. His career is 261. Coming to the year was probably 270. It's probably gone down that much. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if like the Santiago Espinal kind of level out into more of an average hitter, or is he going to keep hitting home runs? I don't know. I don't know if he's trying to do something to hit more home runs this year. I don't know if the Reds have tried to, thought they could tap into something, when they acquired him in the ballpark that they play in. I don't know the answer to that. The thing I do know is he plays great defense, and that's a plus. I mean, wherever you throw him, you're going to have a really good defender, and that's something this team does not have a lot of. So I don't know what to expect out of him the rest of the year. Just a weird season, but it's cool to see him hitting some homers.
It's I'll just say this. You don't know what you miss when you never had something. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is that he turns double plays like he just little. I know they didn't get the out at first base on that double play ball, but there's zero chance that gets turned with the alternative situation. There's zero chance that ball gets caught earlier today if it was an alternative situation. And I just think that times we as fans, we could forget those things, and those things are very important. They don't show up in the box score, and they don't show up and no one gets mad about it because you can't really see it for what it is. But good teams have that, and good teams play good defense, and the Reds are starting to turn a corner, hopefully playing better defensively. Still have a little brain farts here and there. Not going to forget Buck Farmer and not going to forget Brent Suter, but that's about that. All right, if you're going to go to the ball yard, there's a place to go. and it is the Game Time app. You can download it. When you download it, you're going to realize that it's one of the best ticketing apps in the marketplace. And by the best, I mean legitimately the best. You can get on there, 2 clicks, you can check out, use, again, I know you've heard me say this before, you can pay right there on your phone. You can also see where you're sitting in the stadium. There are kind of indicators inside of the app that I like, Nick, kind of letting you know what kind of deal you're getting based off of kind of the, I don't want to say artificial intelligence, but it can kind of rate your seat and how much you're spending on it, whether it's an amazing deal or a great deal or a moderate deal, or better yet, you like to see the fact that you can actually see where you're sitting. Personally, I kind of like affordable prices. They have lightning deals. You should take advantage of them. And if you want another deal, you can get $20 off your first purchase by using the code CINCY, CINCY, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, though. I want to let you know that terms do apply. But download the Game Time app, and you will be thankful that you did. I just have that on the burner, by the way. It's on the back burner, Nick. Sometimes I'll just have the game. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got the Game Time app. Let me see how much tickets are. FC Cincinnati, they play on Wednesday. I think tonight I might pull the trigger. I got to do it at some point. It feels like the time is right. I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to get on the Game Time app and see if I can't find a way to take in TQL Stadium? That's what it's called. But as always, text call 988, Nick. Today's not kind of the days that Reds fans kind of need that. I would assume the Marlins fans were already kind of to a position where they would be well aware of 988, but you never know. Do they even have fans? No disrespect, but you think? How many fans do you think the Marlins actually have? Like, that's a tough. I know they've won. They've won World Series, and someone's going to kill me because there's going to definitely be a Marlins fan that's going to take this very personal and be like, "What have the Reds done?" And it's going to be hard. Like, I don't have a lot to come back with, but that's got to be pretty tough being a Marlins fan.
Yeah, I mean, their fan base has got to be. I don't know. Maybe them in Tampa, it's not a whole lot. I mean, half the people that live in those areas aren't from those areas either, so that kind of hurts. They're all they moved from somewhere else, and they're still a fan of that team.
Exactly.
You know?
New York. I remember going to a Tampa, New York Yankees game, and I mean, legitimately 95% of the fans there were New York Yankee fans, and I think it was just a bunch of snowbirds down in Tampa. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything left to add on the deal here until we get into some more stuff. I think we might have some supers we got to get to.
No, I mean, it'd be great to see a good crowd though at GABB tomorrow, last day of the first half. Reds are going to start the second half on the road, so you're not going to get, if you live in Cincinnati, you're not going to get a chance to see the Reds for a while, and this is a big game. Reds have picked up 3 games in the NL Central in the last 3 days. Brewers lost their 3rd in a row. So all of a sudden, the Reds are 7 back. I mean, that's still quite a gap, but 7 versus 11 it was at one point this year. It feels quite a bit different. And so you're at least, trending to give yourself a chance in that race if, and it's a big, big, big if, Milwaukee, slows down in the second half.
Milwaukee's going to slow down. It's just a matter of how much. I don't know if they're as good as they've shown, but I don't know if they're going to be bad enough for us to be able to catch him. Michael Davis coming in another. That was his first super chat earlier. Now he's super chatting again. And he's saying Johnny Bench is the only player who will be the best of all time at his position. Are they even trying to sign Ellie? I hope to God they're trying to sign Ellie, Michael. I hope to God they are. We've talked about this on this show before.
There's nothing more important that this franchise should be doing than trying to extend Ellie De La Cruz right now.
That 100%.
Should be priority number 1, priority number 2, and priority number 3 right now.
And the other crazy thing is I think this is a coming to Jesus moment for this ownership group. I do believe that. And now I don't know if they're going to take it that way, and I don't know whether or not other people might see it the way I see it. But if you can't figure out a way to get that done, then time's up. Time's up, because you hit the lottery by finding the kid. You get the lottery by having the first crack at giving him an extension, and nobody else is allowed to, get into the negotiation waters with Ellie De La Cruz. You need to be doing that for as long as you need to get it done, period. And if you find yourself in a position where you don't think financially you can support a contract like that, then I hate to say it, but this game has passed you by, and you're gonna have to find somebody else to join the group to help out to make it a deal. So again, I know that's a very, very stark thing for just one player, but Elly De La Cruz is generational. I mean, and the amount of Reds fans that he will produce on his own will be substantial. And there's only one way. Sometimes I was thinking, like, what's the difference between the Yankees and the Reds? I mean, the Reds had all of the tradition. The Reds had the history. The Reds they were one of the, they clearly were one of the foundational teams, the first team. The only difference is that one has obviously a market, but more importantly, one team has invested into something that is so significant that they had some of the greatest players of all time play for their franchise, and that carries some weight. And Elly De La Cruz has an opportunity to be one of the, and I know it's early. I get it's early, but he has an opportunity to be one of the greatest players of all time. And if we can't find a way to make it happen, then that's going to be a damning day for the ownership group. So I don't think it's going to happen. We'll figure it out. We don't need to talk about it long on this show, but go ahead and you make a point.
Yeah, just to wrap it up. I mean, like to the people who say it can't happen. I mean, the Royals extended Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah,
the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, I know it didn't end up working out. Extended Wander Franco. I mean, like the Marlins extended Giancarlo Stanton. I mean, the Reds can do it. One player is not your entire team payroll, and the Reds can work around it. I wouldn't even handicap the Reds as long as Elly De La Cruz is even like a fringe all-star player. They can work around that contract, and the Reds can do it, and they absolutely. I have full faith that they're going to try to do it. But yeah, if they're not doing everything they can, then yeah, it would be an absolutely terrible situation.
The thing to add to this, finally wrapping this up, is it could happen. It could turn into a Juan Soto, Washington National situation, which is, hey, you made an unbelievable offer. It's just the guy wants to go somewhere else, and if that happens, then we can live with it. We can live with it.
I'd you wash your hands and you move
on.
But
I think he's so impressionable now, Nick. Personally, I could be completely wrong on this, but he's so impressionable now that he's young enough, and he's probably, and I'm not saying naive, that's not the word I'm going for, but he should love this franchise about as much as you could love anything, because they gave him the opportunity. And if they could go in and pitch that right now, that's what they need to do. All right, Andrew Abbott, Fernando Cruz, not their best stuff today. I know Reds in 4, and you mentioned this on the last show, right? It's like these guys have all said that, hey, that the analytics and the metrics, if you will, point to the idea of some regression for Andrew Abbott specifically. Today was similar. I don't know if it was much as just the elements today. Nick is it was very hot, and I'm gonna say something that sounds weird. It felt like the ball was bouncing in front of the plate extremely hard. I don't know if they didn't water it a bunch before the game, but it was like a trampoline effect. Every time there was a ground ball hit, it was just like, boom, it got through the infield incredibly quick. And that might sound goofy, but that could be the difference between getting a couple ground ball outs and not, and innings getting extended. Next thing you know, you give up a 3-run home run instead of just a solo home run. So I kind of give him, I don't want to say I give him a full pass, Nick, but I kind of give him a pass on some of the fact that it was a little bit of a different circumstance from a weather perspective.
Yeah, I mean, he's pitched well all year. He had 2 really good starts his last 2 timeouts. One was against the Yankees, so just didn't happen today. You're going to have starts like that, especially when you pitch in this ballpark, and especially when you're the kind of pitcher that Andrew Abbott is, where you're not at least consistently going to have high strikeout numbers. He'll occasionally have those big games, but he's not Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, where he's just getting a ton of swing and misses. You're just going to have days like today, and it is what it is. You move on. I like that David Bell was aggressive. Not 100% sure Buck Farmer is, and I like Buck Farmer would have been my move with a couple runners on base. It ended up, I guess, working out, but I was glad to see with 2 games left, you got a break. The Reds were aggressive in this game, but you have Nick Lodolo tomorrow, and there's a chance Nick Lodolo goes 7 or 8 innings, and you don't even need these pitchers tomorrow. So I like that he was aggressive today. I thought it was a good time to pick your spot.
I agree. That's another excellent point by you. I thought that David Bell managed this game incredibly well. He went for it. He didn't sit around and say, he's only thrown, 3 innings. Let's see if we can't find a way to squeak him out one more. He's seen the opportunity. I think at the time it was a 2-run game. Chisholm's coming up. And I'm not talking about Abbott at this point. I'm talking about the standpoint that he brings in Sam Mull, and Mull gets the job done. It's just it was good understanding the situation and the spot that you were in from a managing perspective. Does David Bell do what he does today if he doesn't have the All-Star break coming up? I don't know. I would question that a little bit, but he kind of understood that, hey, this bullpen, I get an extra arm because they obviously had the Spire situation, which we'll talk about in just a second, and Santillan, he did okay. He battled. I don't know how you felt about it, but we'll get to that in just a second. But anyways, at the end of the day, of the 2 guys that we can give some grace to, Andrew Abbott, Fernando Cruz are probably at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I just don't think it was unrealistic to expect Cruz to dominate. Now, Cruz might be the one pitcher on this entire staff that's, I think, going to benefit the most from the All-Star break, getting a few days off, getting refreshed. He's been used a lot. In a lot of taxing spots, Cruz didn't have a lot of low leverage spots this first half. He was used every time the Reds needed big out. So I think this break's going to do him well. And I would expect that he'll come back after the break and be refreshed and probably pitch well down the stretch.
Let's hope so. Don't have a lot to add on the next little quick rundown here. I know Spires, you kind of had like a little bit of a conspiracy theory is not the right word to use here, Nick. There's probably a better one to use than that, but maybe just a game plan, a holistic game plan about Spires.
Yeah, it's not even, I don't think, a conspiracy theory because Spires almost backed it up himself. I was kind of surprised that he was as...
Are they allowed to do this, Nick?
He almost... They didn't admit manipulation. I can't find the exact quote, but he said something along the lines of, if there wasn't the All-Star break, I would probably stay in the rotation. So I'm guessing there was... My guess here is there is some sort of injury here. That there's something there. So the Reds can at least cover their tracks. Like they we got a doctor's written statement.
Right. Yeah.
Carson Spires signed it.
Yeah.
Something is
sounds like all the doctor notes that the kids take in on the day after opening day of the Reds game.
Yeah. But this is a good move for a couple reasons. Number one, you're going to get an extra reliever, and you're trading it for just one start from Spires because you have an off day the second week or the first full week after the All-Star break. So you're only going to need one either bullpen game where they could call someone up for one start. Spires also, this is a guy that we haven't really talked about, Carson Spires' inning cap, but that's probably a real thing. So it's probably a good thing to save some of his innings because I don't think he was going to, be able to maybe make it through a full season of the rotation anyways. And then the last thing, and maybe the most important thing, I know a lot of people are like, this is service time manipulation, blah, blah, blah. No, this is the exact opposite. The Reds could have optioned Carson Spires down to AAA, and it would have changed nothing. He's already been optioned this year, so it's not like you're saving an optioned year. I think the Reds are almost rewarding Carson Spires, saying, hey, we're going to give you big league service time. You're going to get big league salary
right
on the roster. Because of the job you've done. And that's a good thing. That's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things for an organization like the Cincinnati Reds, but for Carson Spires, it is decent chunks of money.
Yeah.
And he should be rewarded. So I think it's kind of cool that he almost is kind of getting rewarded in a weird way, as opposed to just being optioned, because the Miami Marlins are the first example that comes to mind. Their starting pitcher, Yuri Perez, last year, who actually unfortunately is out for the year this year, their star pitcher, they actually sent him down right before the All-Star break, and a lot of people got mad about it. And it was just completely, well, we're sending him down, we're saving some innings, and they did all that kind of stuff. But the Reds are actually going to, pay Carson Spires. So that's a good thing for him personally. Don't feel sorry for him.
No, I don't feel sorry for Spires. I just thought it was hilarious that they did the smart move. The only thing is like, the Mets general manager just got suspended for a year for manipulating the IL. Now, again, like you said, probably legitimate injury somewhere in there. We'll figure out.
There's some paperwork somewhere, I'm convinced on that.
Correct, yes.
That they can go back on, that they felt confident to do this. And they're also not going to, I don't think you're going to get a MLBPA complaint because Carson Spires, the alternative would have been he gets optioned down to AAA and makes less money. Like there's no one did anything wrong by anyone here. This isn't a situation where I think the problem, and I think the thing that made maybe people upset at like the MLB front office is more if a guy like Justin Wilson, who doesn't have options, you put him on the IL because you can't send him down to AAA so you can keep him on the roster. Whereas this is totally different. They could have just optioned him down, but it's more of a way to keep him on the big league roster and, reward him for what he's done.
Right. I think it looked like this, actually. I was just thinking to myself, what do you think it looks like? I was thinking, this is probably what it looks like. Hold on. There it goes. Hold on. Let's get this on here. We got to make sure. There it is. Look at that. Right there. Yep. That's it. And that's all they got to do. They send that to the league office, and we're on our merry way. No problem. But, Reds aren't the only ones that do it. And honestly, I could care less. Like, people probably think I'm not the police here. I could care less if they do it. I just want to make sure that, they do it. Let's have a plan, baby. Got to have a plan. Can't be cheating without a plan, But they're not cheating, of course. They're not cheating.
We don't need Meter getting suspended.
Yeah. Nobody in this organization cheats, if you know what I'm saying. All right. Speaking of some prospects, got the futures game. We got the MILB as well, but the futures game was today. I watched it a little bit. I watched it a little bit. You just got to hit update. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, Nick. Cam Collier, bomb. I did not get to see Rhett throw. Excuse me. I did not get to see Rhett throw, unfortunately, though, because I was watching the Reds, and it was lost on me. It looked like he pitched around some other guys that couldn't field baseballs. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, there was a really brutal error at second base, and then another play that it was hit pretty well to center field. The center fielder should have caught it, but he didn't. But yeah, Cam Collier got the first run of the game. It was a 0-0 game. Hit a solo home run. It ended up being the futures game MVP, and it was a bomb too. 409 feet, 105.1 off the bat. And then Rhett Lauder looked really good. Threw a scoreless inning. Got a strikeout on his slider, really nasty slider, tailing away from the hitter. His fastball topped out at 94.7. So good to see from both of those guys. Two guys that have had ups and downs this year, but I think for good reason are two of the guys that this organization should be the most excited about going forward. And I think Cam Collier, I don't know if this is hot takey or not. I know a lot of people have been really excited with what Sal Stewart has done this year, and for good reason. I love Sal Stewart. I think he's an awesome prospect that has a bright future. But I think people have taken what Sal Stewart's done and have kind of been like, Sal Stewart's a better prospect right now than Cam Collier. I would say pump the brakes on that. Collier is, I think, a year younger. I think Collier has a lot more upside. And it was good to, this is the kind of home run for him that builds his confidence up. And I hope that he can finish the year strong. And then, Rhett Lauder, it was kind of funny. Just I switched the broadcast audio to their audio, and one of the pipeline guys is doing that game with the traditional announcers. And he talked about Rhett Lauder like he was having almost no struggles this year. And I don't know, maybe he didn't watch him at all. I don't know. But he was talking about Rhett Lauder like, yeah, he's fine. This guy's going to be a big part of the Cincinnati Reds rotation probably early next year. And it was kind of just interesting to see a national perspective because we've kind of saw him struggling at Chattanooga. But I think that on a national perspective, he still gets a lot more love. And just good day for both of these guys.
Well, he's not the only one that struggles in Chattanooga. I can promise you that. So there's a lot of in fact, there's a whole bus full of them down there. It's called the Struggle Bus, and I think they get on it every day to go to the game. MILB, Nick, I don't know how much you have. I know it's a weird time right now at 7:50 Eastern. But what do you have on the home front that is the farm system?
Yeah, a couple games went final. A tough day at the Arizona Complex League. ACL Reds lost 7-1 to the ACL Guardians. Sheng-Yin Lin 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, and then Cole Schoenwetter gave up 2 runs. That Schoenwetter, Reds' 4th-round pick last year, really struggled. 5.18 ERA, 1.67 WHIP through his first 33 innings. We had a couple finals out in the Dominican Summer League. The DSL Brewers beat the DSL Rojas 8-4. Adolfo Sanchez was on base twice, stole a bag, his 8th of the season. And then Nabil Mariano and Jervin Moriallo were also both on base twice. And then over in the other DSL game, the DSL Reds, they beat the DSL Braves 9-4. Yekel Soriano on base 3 times and stole 2 bags in that one. Haven't updated this completely because we had some games that did just get underway. Daytona, they were supposed to play a doubleheader that started at 4:05 today, and neither game has started yet. They're in a rain delay, so tough sledding out in Daytona. Dayton, they trail South Bend 4-0. Louisville leads St. Paul 1-0. That's in the top of the second. And then Chattanooga trails Biloxi 1-0 in the bottom of the second. But we'll have a full report tomorrow morning on Chatterbox Reds podcast.
Fair enough. All right, moving forward, we have, of course, who, what, when, where, and why, which also gets into kind of what we're going to do tomorrow. I know yesterday we had mentioned it on the show, but we have the draft. Got the MLB draft tomorrow, and you know what? Kudos to Major League Baseball. It's one of the first times where, and maybe it's just because the Reds are picking second, but it is one of the first times in recent history that I can remember, Nick, where it feels like Major League Baseball's draft is actually somewhat paid attention to. Now, clearly, they're way behind the other leagues when it comes to this, and for good reason. But I will say, Nick, this is one of those situations where baseball's changed so much over the past probably 5 years. Ever since COVID, college baseball specifically has gotten much, much richer with talent because of the draft only going back, it getting shortened. And on top of that, you have guys getting extra years in college. And we're not all the way there like the other leagues where people can make an immediate impact right away, but we are significantly closer from the standpoint that these guys are almost major league ready when they're drafted. You see Skeens, you've seen, and I know Jackson Holiday didn't get off to a good start with the Orioles, but you've seen guys fast track to the big leagues, and hopefully this is a situation that'll happen for the Reds. They got the number 2 pick. Of course, you never know what can happen, but there's a real legitimate chance, and I know people think I'm crazy. There's a real legitimate chance that at some point next year, the person they draft tomorrow is going to help them at the big league roster. Not a guarantee. I want to put pressure on them, but that's how high they're drafting tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the Reds' last 2 picks were number 2 were Hunter Green and Nick Senzel. Both of those guys played in the major leagues. One of them, I think, is a star. The other one's a big league average player. So, I mean, you have you probably have a 75, 80%, maybe higher, that you're going to draft a guy that's going to play in the big leagues. You probably have a 50% chance, maybe a little less than that you're going to draft a player that's going to be an impact player. So, I mean, yeah, this is a big opportunity for the Reds. I don't study this thing super close. It right. Sounds like Condon is the most likely pick there. It's just going to be interesting to see what the Guardians do. And from what I'm reading, Bazana wants the biggest bonus, which is what I think complicates this whole thing the most here.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see if the Guardians decide to pass on him, because the Guardians have a pick at 36, whereas the Reds don't have another pick to 51. The Guardians actually have 2 more picks before the Reds have their next pick, because the competitive balance round basically flops every year between the 6 lowest the 10 smallest markets. The Reds were last year. They got Ty Floyd when they were in that pick. It's not the Reds' year this year, so the Guardians do. So the Guardians have more of a reason to save their pool of money than the Reds do.
I hope they do.
If they pass on Bazana, do the Reds take him? Is Condon their guy, or do the Reds, go a little rogue here? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'm excited just more than anything. Just excited to find out who the pick is and start tracking them, because that's kind of a lot more easy for me to do and a little bit more exciting than trying to dig through 7 different college players that all played at different levels and trying to figure out how they fit in. But I'm excited for the Reds to draft at number 2. This is cool. It's cool that I love the draft lottery. My last point, I love the draft lottery. I think it's really cool that you just don't automatically get the benefit of tanking to get a high pick. Reds will above 500 get the number 2 pick. I think it's cool, and it's kind of it makes it nice. It's almost like it rewards teams that tried a little bit more, but just fell short. It gives everyone kind of a little bit more of a fair chance. So yeah, excited for tomorrow.
I think it's going to be difficult to know 100% certainly whether you got a good pick or not. It's very much like the NFL draft. You might walk away tomorrow being incredibly upset that you didn't get the guy that you were hoping for, and then all of a sudden 5 years later you remember like, I'm glad they didn't get that guy. I mean, there's no doubt that that the Houston Texans are that's who the Reds are this year. They're the Houston Texans. Let's just hope that the Cleveland Guardians are the Carolina Panthers and they take a quarterback that probably shouldn't be taken at number 1. But to be fair to, not to get on football talk, but to be fair, the situation you go into matters a lot. I would say this about the whole situation. Zana, I don't know if we're going to get these guests or not. I reached out to a former college coach that I have who coaches USA Baseball, and he's going to try, and I don't know for sure if the time zone stuff, but if we can there's a chance that we get the Australian national coach to join the program to talk about Bazana. There's a chance that we might get the guy that coached Charlie Condone, Pepperdine's coach, Larry Helms, I think is his name. Maybe these are all maybes. It just depends on asking people to do something on a Sunday is never the easiest thing at a short's moment notice, but we'll see if we can get those guys to share at least some insight on their experiences around both of those guys. I'll leave it at this. We don't need to make this complicated, in my opinion. It's one of those two guys, and you move on. If you got to pay Bazana a bazooka amount of money, it's worth it to do that than to go out and try to maybe find that in free agency. So, and I get it, no guarantees, but if you look at this kid's resume and where he's been and what he's done, he's been playing in the profession. He's basically been playing professional baseball. Now, I know he got to play in college because it was overseas, but he's been playing in the Australian Baseball League since he was like 14 years old. So there's been pressure on this kid for a long, long time, and he's done nothing but produce. We'll obviously do a little bit of a show tomorrow and do our best. But for those that are wondering, obviously Condone, big power bat in the outfield that played at Georgia, played in the SEC. In order to do what he did in the SEC, you got to be pretty damn good. But Bazana was the MVP in the Cape Cod League, and he also has done nothing but hit every single level that he's been at. The only knock on him is maybe you would argue he's a second baseman. You probably taking a guy that high as a second baseman, you might but I would just say his floor is much, much higher than everybody else's. I think Bazana will be a big leaguer, or he'll get a big league pension. I'll leave it at that. He'll get a big league pension. Now, whether or not he'll be a perennial high-level all-star every single year, I don't know. But I kind of like the idea of having a guy that I know is going to be pretty rock solid. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We don't get to pick. The Guardians get to pick, and then I think from there we get whoever they don't pick, Nick. Simple as that.
And Bryce Spalding will be joining us tomorrow. He follows college baseball really close. So
yes, he does.
Try to kind of get his input, his kind of instant reaction to this. Hopefully it's not the one guy that he hates.
Is he going to come on if they pick Gags? I guess is he going to come on?
I don't know. I kind of – there's a small part of me that almost kind of like wants to see Bryce's reaction.
No. He'll have an absolute meltdown. Yeah, we'll let that be tomorrow if that's the case. But all right, we got who, what, when, where, and why, and then we got to get off this show with the traditional programming things. So, Nick, take it away.
All right, Reds going for a sweep. Sunday, 1:40. Chatterbox Reds will be live in the 9th inning tomorrow. So we'll be live, staying all the way through the MLB draft. So the Reds will be going up against the lefty Trevor Rogers, 1-9. Pretty tough record for a 4.82 ERA. Doesn't typically deserve 1-9, but that's where Trevor Rogers is. This is a former first-round pick, speaking of the draft, number 13 overall in 2017. He was the Marlins' number 1 prospect, top 100 prospect. You might remember he finished second in the NL Rookie of the Year voting in 2021 behind Jonathan India. Rogers dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his career. And this year, no exception. Relies on 4 pitches, a 4-seamer, sinker, changeup, and slider. Fastball averages just 92 miles per hour. He's only made 1 career start against the Reds. It was back in 2022. He gave up 6 runs over 3 2/3 innings. The active Reds against Rogers are 2 for 8, and both of those hits are from Jonathan India. He's 2 for 2 with a double. Austin Slater, who you would expect to be in the lineup against a lefty, is 0 for 6. All right, for the Reds, it's Nick Lodolo. Lodolo was dominant early, I remember, in his last start. First start coming back off the IL with the blister issues, but then struggled after that 40-minute rain delay when he came back. Lodolo threw 6 shutout innings at his only career start against the Marlins back in 2022. 9 strikeouts in that outing. Active Marlins just 1 for 6. Their De La Cruz is 0 for 2. Fortes is 1 for 2 with a walk. And Brujan is 0 for 2. So 140 Sunday. Reds going for a sweep. Muted.
I just said we need it. I said we need it like we need air. I said it a little more enthusiastic, but when you got to do something after the fact, you realize you're muted. It's kind of a little demoralizing. Saying. Nice. Good work, Nick. Really nice.
Cage's been out a lot this week.
Yeah. There went all the guests for tomorrow. Right there. They were watching the show. They were watching the show, and they're like, well,
I was in, and nah.
I was in, and then I was out. By the way, one cool thing, if we get Bazzano, we'll have a whole country behind us. We'll have Australia. It'll be like their Shohei Ohtani too. I don't know if that matters.
We're gonna have the entire country of Taiwan for Sheng-In Len, and then we're gonna have.
Let's not get too carried away now.
And then we're gonna have the entire country of Australia. I mean, we're cornering that whole area of the
yeah.
world.
What a marketing tactic that would be. Nick. All right, folks. As always, appreciate you. Listen, the show's impossible without you. Absolutely impossible without you. Like the stream if you haven't already. Download the podcast. Give it a rating. Give it a review. And we'll be back better than ever tomorrow to talk about the MLB draft, but hopefully, more importantly, much more importantly, we got Lodolo going. We're looking at a little bit of a break, a little bit of an all-star break, and they got a chance to get 1 game closer to 500 and take care of the Marlins and sweep on the way out of what we thought was going to be a disappointing homestand. Tomorrow saves the day. I'm here to tell you. Tomorrow saves the day. Lodolo is going to get it done. God bless the United States of America, and God bless you. We're going to go dunk a basketball. We're going to get back to living our American ways.
Athlete